Hello friends, we're here in this video to talk about how to play a losing game, how to play from behind, how to play whenever the opponent is crushing you, when you're down on net worth, whatever. And this is a question it's a common question I hear people ask, whether it be streamers or pros or AMAs or whatever, but it's always like one that's very hard to answer. And the main reason is because it's not a great question, right? Like, the first thing you have to realize is that losing is not a viable strategy for winning, right? It's not like asking, how do I win when I'm playing this hero, you know? There's always like a way to play heroes right, but you can't say like, how do I win when I'm losing? Which is basically what you're asking. That being said, still an interesting question. It's still something you want to do. You don't always want to lose the games you're behind, so I'm going to do my best to answer it anyways. The main thing you got to realize is, one, no matter what I tell you, if I give you the best advice, none of it is going to be foolproof to work. And in fact, most of it's going to work a minority of the time, even if I give you the best advice, right? Because if you're losing, the most common thing to do after losing is just to lose. It's a minority of games that you can have people come back on. And the other thing is that
Dire's mid tower could use a little help. The Dire winning for.
And the other thing is that something's got to change. There was a reason why you were losing the battles to start the game. Whatever that reason might be, you have to figure that out and you have to change it. A lot of times it's just the way the heroes match up. A lot of times it's the fact you were playing badly. I mean, and that's in a way to come back, right? You go from playing badly to playing better, right? But that's, you know, easier said than done. But it certainly helps just to say, oh, start playing better. That's a very wishy-washy answer. It certainly helps as if there's some gameplay mechanic that changes. Like somehow your hero, you gain a new ability, a new item, new something that you didn't have at lower levels. And that's why it's so important to do all of the normal stuff. All of the stuff about mid-game decision-making, nearly all of that works if you're behind as well as if you're ahead. It's just that it's easier if you're ahead, obviously. You still want to be doing stuff like farming, taking free farm, where you see all the enemies going here. You know, you still want to be getting whatever you can out of the map. Even if you are getting less, even if you're making trades where the opponent is getting more than what you are getting, you still want to be making these trades. You still want to be getting something, as opposed to just hemorrhaging kills. Now, I think it's pretty important to talk about base defense. That's kind of like a natural part of making comebacks, is, you know, the enemies are going to be trying to end it and you want to not end it. And again, if the opponent is ahead, it's pretty much a requirement that they make a mistake for you to come back. Because if they're ahead and they play perfectly, there's nothing that you can do that's gonna, it's not a winning strategy to be behind, right? But how do we make them make mistakes? How do we try to force mistakes as well as we can and take advantage of it? So the main thing is basically free damage. Again, free damage, free damage, free damage. Look how far back these guys are. They're making this little arc really far back. They're almost to the point where if they just sat range heroes and just attack them racks, they could just get the racks. But that's like the #1 mistake I see people making, is during base pushes, they just ignore the buildings and they just want to get kills. The other thing is, look at this, as per usual, he's just getting what he can out of the map, you know, trying to get a tier 2 tower in this time. Is it tier 2 tower? Is it worse than a Rax? Of course. But he can get something, so he's going to take it. So he gets it and teleports it. So then, we just hope that the MVP starts making mistakes. We're going to see them back out, and then we're going to see QO go, like, super greed mode, and he's just going to, like, invis into their base whenever he doesn't have Aegis, and obviously they're going to have a ward. Like, even 4K teams know to put wards down after you lose your tower. So that's just a really bad way to start the fight. Obviously he didn't die, like maybe that was his thought process, is they don't have enough to AoE to actually kill me during my ult, but it doesn't matter. He still gets super low, can't fight, and then dies afterwards. So we're going to see this battle go not great because of that botched QO initiation. Whereas if they had just played calm and walked up and slowly taken the high ground and then pushed the buildings, of course they would probably have just taken racks. But QO's back. We're going to kind of see the same sort of thing. A lot of ignoring of the buildings and a lot of going for kills that aren't really, you know, doable. Now, what is changing in these battles? The main thing that's changing is QO went from playing properly to, he kind of overextends and burns his ult early. And this is an important concept, is you need to be able to kill people, like if you're losing. Obviously if you're winning too, but if you're winning, that's pretty much for granted that you can kill the opponents. You've been doing it all game, but if you're losing, you need to be able to kill the opponents also, right? You need to have your build set up that you have enough damage on your builds to actually get kills on the opponents. Whenever you're winning, you'll see me, like if you're carrying, if you're the one who's highest in net worth, you need to not die, right? We talked about that extensively in the last chapter, so you'll see people do like pretty defensive item builds like Lincoln's, because if one team is winning, a lot of times the objective of the game changes. It's not so much like, oh, try to farm. You know, farming takes a backseat to, if you can kill the guy with a ton of net worth, that changes everything. That makes way more of a difference than taking a tower, taking 2 towers, taking Roche, Nagus, whatever. Like, if the Slark goes down, that's a big deal. These guys don't have to itemize differently. You notice their draft, they actually have Amplify Damage and Soul Catcher. Both of these just amplify damage single targets. Let's go back really quick and see how Slark actually dies. Because Slark's always hard to kill, right? And he has the ability to clear to amplify damage. What he doesn't have is he doesn't have Shadow Dance anymore because he burned that early in the fight. So we'll see him go in, we'll see him jump on a person, we'll see him do the normal Dark Pact, but he just used Dark Pact. This is down, so is Dark Pact. Suddenly he's just totally exposed, which is going to mean Blink, Amplify. This guy's just going down. Instantly, look, 1,450 or 1,045 gold. There's nothing else in the whole game that NP could do that's going to give him 1,000 gold in a burst like that. And you just get this Slardar suddenly has a ton of gold. That's a big deal. That's going to be more important than any other objective, is killing that Slark. So if you prioritize getting those big kills, which is what a big thing, a big part of coming back is, how do you actually do that? Sometimes we'll see pro players do smokes. It's very hard to do smokes as a team in pub games sometimes because your allies don't, like, if you say, hey, let's smoke up and kill a Slark, like, it doesn't always work because they just don't always listen. So how do you actually do smokes, like, in a realistic sense? The best way is to just find some time when you have a bunch of allies grouped up, have the smoke on your courier, on yourself, and just pop it. Like, don't ask for permission, don't tell your allies to do it, don't tell them your plan, because they don't care, they won't listen. You just pop it, and then you ping. And, like, it doesn't, again, it doesn't always work, but most of the time, it's like, just by taking that step, it's like your allies respect you for this teeny tiny 1 second period of time. You are the captain. You've smoked, and you ping. And now 1 second, where you ping is where your allies will go. Alright? So, that is one way, probably the most effective way I've done, is to actually just do it. And then, worst case scenario is they just ignore the smoke and go back to doing their own things. You're down 50 gold. You're down to smoke, but let's be real, it's a pub. Being down to smoke means basically nothing most of the time. And again, you need to be able to... The reason smokes work is because it's going to bring 5 of your heroes, or 4, however many you can get, some amount of your heroes, and they're all going to be moving together as a group. And it's going to bring them somewhere. You're going to go somewhere. It might not be like the best smoke, it might not be like optimized for going to where to find whatever. The point is, the opponents, if they're winning, they're probably doing stuff like splitting up and farming the map. Whereas your team will all be in one spot. So if you go anywhere and you find any opponent, the likelihood is that you will be en masse, you'll be in 5, and they will be in 1 or 2. And as we talked about extensively in the past, that's the #1 thing about winning battles. If you can start a battle like that, be 3v1, be 5v2, whatever, you're just going to win that battle promptly, and then sometimes the opponents will try to reinforce and it'll be too late, and you'll get that chain feeding pattern. That chain feeding is what you want. That's what gets you back into games, okay? So, defending base, stay as far back as possible, because you'd be surprised how often the enemy's just making mistakes. Instead of just, if you stay super far back and just ping them with really long distance, like a Wind Ranger is a great example. As a Wind Ranger, you just stay super far back, throw like a shackle, throw like a power shot. It's nowhere near enough to actually kill them. They could just kill your racks, but so often they'll ignore your racks and they'll just try to kill you. And then you can like dive back. So just do your free damage, even if it's not enough, and hope they make mistakes. And then try out these smokes, okay? So we're going to see MVP try pushing the base again versus NP. QL is actually going to start off almost the exact same way. He's going to Shadow Blade in, just solo. Very, very risky play. And just try to go for Envy. This one at least makes a little more sense because his allies hadn't shown they were pushing, so maybe it would catch him off guard. But, know, and in a way it kind of works. He does, his ally blinks in and gets the kill on Invoker, and so he basically traded Shadow Dance for Invoker's buyback. So, you know, here they go. Shadow Dance is down. Invoker's back up. And this is an important point. Invoker uses his buyback, of course. He uses it instantly. And it's easy to think like, oh, buybacking sucks. It puts you at a disadvantage. It removes the gold. Even if you were to get kills, it would remove a lot of gold from it. All of this is true, but if he doesn't buy back, maybe you just lose. You know, and losing a Rax is a very strong first step towards losing the game. You don't want to lose, okay? Obviously, buying back is never ideal. It's not what you want to do, but you have to do it sometimes. You gotta bend, not break, you know? You have to do what you can to prolong the game because things can change, but if you just lose, it's over. So, MVP kind of halfway harassing him. NP doing a really good job of just harassing him and staying far away. Good ult. We see MVP shuffle to get back. Slark goes down from the ult. So does Ursa, but he has Aegis. And we're going to see NP kind of just kiting him around a decent amount. MVP so close to this Rax, is so close to dead, but they're just tunnel visioning on the heroes. This is the most common mistake that happens in pushes, is they just ignore the Rax and go for hero kills, which is why you want to just do your best. Just do free damage. Even if it's not enough to actually kill him, just attack him from an area that's safe. The only one who actually was attacking that Rax was the freaking Rubik the whole time, who stayed focused on the objective, and it's such a bummer that these other guys didn't, because they could have taken it down so quickly. But Rubik's not good enough, you know, his attack just is nothing. So NP ends up holding. Notice NV went down again. Obviously not ideal, right? And Aoi had to buy back. But it's not about all that. It's not about who ended up, you know, using more buy. Like, look at this. It feels like a one battle for NP just because they held. Even though MVP won, the key is that the game still just goes on, right? You just got to prolong the game. A lot of the stuff about how to actually play remains like pretty much the same whenever you're losing. You know, you just go around, get the safe farm that you can. A big difference is how to make it safe, though. You can't split up and farm nearly as well whenever you're losing as when you're ahead. So you have to kind of stay very close to your whole team, which might mean you only farm one section of the map while the enemy's farming like most of the map. And yeah, you're getting a disadvantageous trade there, right? But you're at least getting something. And the other key is, the enemies on occasion are going to try to go for kills that they can't get. He could get that one, but you're relatively safe whenever you're as a group. And it means that if you were to stumble, whenever you're 5, if you were to stumble upon like 2 or something, you could actually get those kills. So we're going to see Aoi just ditching bottom, and then he goes top, where he knows that's safe. Again, the amount of the map that is safe for you is going to be a lot less, but you have to use what is there to be used. Okay, so this is MVP's last attempt at pushing the base this game. Lo and behold, it starts the same way with QO going in solo. This time he doesn't immediately burn his ult, but you know, he does end up losing it in a very similar way as the previous pushes. We're going to see, you know, a little bit of dancing around, and this battle was actually a really, really good example of just a nice team battle in general. A lot of the stuff that I talked about in the previous team battle chapter applies very well here. Staying back, doing free damage. You see here they like blink up, do a tiny amount of free damage, send their summons in, but keep their heroes back. You know, no need to chase downhill. People on defense do that way too often in pubs. They just chase downhill whenever like they should just be staying their high ground. Look how far back they were. You see QO going in again. This is where he burns his ult, tries to get a little bit more range Rax damage. Doesn't die here, but does burn his ult. Ult's very important, you know? And the fact that he's losing his ult and his BKB in the beginning means that NP's gonna have something to work with as this battle stretches on and on. And NP can stretch this battle mostly through buybacks, but also just by playing in a way that is safe. You know, we can see the Slardar just keep getting blink crushes in and just resetting over and over again. They were just waiting on the IO, didn't feel a need to go in. He gets out, Slardar tries to go in for a blink, gets caught, dies, he gets a buyback. Aoi gets out of position, is disrupted here. He ends up going down, but also buying back. Nice stomp out of the Slardar. This is where they get their first kill, which highlights something, by the way. They're this far in the battle, they get their first kill, but these guys can't buy back and TP in. So another good stomp out of Slardar. Finally see the battle-ending ultimate out of AUI, and look at this. Finally killed them all. Triple kill on Envy. Feels great. Now, at this very end here, we can see 0 dead for the NP, 4 dead for MVP, so your knee-jerk reflex is to think, oh man, MP won, but they really didn't. It was a battle where everyone lost, and MP actually lost a little bit more. Even still, just because, you know, he has the fast revive from Bloodstone, he died, multiple buybacks, and these guys didn't buy back, it feels like MVP lost, because their objective, take the base, they didn't get their objective. They lost the Aegis, they died a lot. But the key is, even though by the numbers MP didn't win the battle, they did, maybe you could say they won a little bit of morale or something, but that's hard to quantify really. But most importantly of all, they didn't lose the racks, they didn't lose the game. They're still in the game, and they're starting to find like maybe a way to fight, which is to stretch the battles out. You know, in the very early battles when they lost,
could use a little help.
It was because these battles would happen so quick. Slark would pounce on someone and just kill him. Something interesting. What battles are the most important? Early game battles, mid game battles, or late game battles? And maybe you could say mid game battles. You might be tempted to say that because I've been talking about how important that chapter is. But the truth is, the most important battle of the game, like if you could pick one battle to win, the most important battle game is the last battle. Right? Because if you win the last battle of the game, then the game's over. You won the last battle game. That's why it's the last battle, is because you won it, you know, and it sounds kind of like a trick, but it's true. You only have to win one battle in the whole game if it happens to be that you win the battle and it's right outside their base. Even if you've been losing all the other battles. If you imagine the very first time MVP pushed this, if they had won that battle, they probably would have raxed him. Maybe they could have gotten like this in a second rax. That might have been the last battle of the game. But they didn't win it. MP won, and because of that, the game stretched on and ended up not being the last battle. Now here, here we have a smoke. I saw that they talked about smokes a little bit ago in this video, and I said, you know, go ahead and smoke, and I show NP pop a smoke, but nothing actually happened out of that, so I didn't want to, in the interest of your time, I didn't want to show it. But this one does work. They get QO in this. Now watch this. I'm going to slow it down, because it took me a few times to even see what happened when I watched this. Gets stomped, starts to get focused. Everyone's using stuff on him, and then he just dies, like, instantly. You saw that 600 and 595, and the first time I saw that, I didn't even understand what happened. But the basic answer is that this draft is set up in such a way between these two heroes that they can bring down any target. This is like a part of their draft that I didn't realize until this exact kill. This kill ends up being so influential in this game, getting a single pickoff on QO right here, so late game. They've been struggling through all these team fights, putting in so much work, and then this ends up being like the thing that does it for them, right? So he goes in, he crucially gets stomped before his Dark Pact is up, because he just used Dark Pact on creeps. He gets amplified. Since he's stunned, he can't do Dark Pact. Gets amplified, he gets Soul Catcher, and then this hero, this is the Slark, he's down at minus 14, minus 22, and Soul Catcher. The other two is from Melting Strike, and Envy just attacks 2 times. Those huge hits you saw earlier were just normal right clicks with Alacrity on. Okay? So it's hard to see this because of all the nonsense going on, but basically what happens is he attacks, and then Rubik 4-staffs him, so the attack's like in the air, coming down, and then he throws a second attack here. And they hit at the same time, and he just dies. Those are both just normal attacks. I'm gonna show this real quick. Attacker, Invoker, Slark. Attacks for 610 and 595. Just because of how much damage amp they had. And that just goes to show you, like, if even when you're losing, you need to be able to make kills. A lot of times, this is just a draft thing, but a lot of times it ends up being decision making and items. If you're losing, you want to have enough aggression, you want to have enough offense on your hero builds that you can potentially kill them if they get caught out. And that's not just in, like, that doesn't mean just get dataless or something. A lot of times you need to get the right item that's going to allow you to kill someone. So if they're an invis hero, you need to be packing dust or a gem, or you need to be getting a support to pack those things. If they're a hero, you know, like a Tinker or something, and he's been jumping all around and he always uses his Ghost Scepter, you need to be getting a Diffusal Blade. You need to find the right items that's going to allow you to kill them. You need to be making the kills possible, okay? How do you get detection on your supports if they refuse to buy detection? This is something I've started doing that I found works amazingly. You just, because so often they'll just have they have plenty of money and they have their inventory open, but they just won't buy it. all you gotta do, I just buy dust and put it on their inventory, and then they usually figure it out from there.
The Dire gave up a bottom tower.
Alright, now here's the last battle of the game, just a little bit later. And we're gonna see a few differences between how this goes and how early game battles go. One is, with this amplify damage, Slark's actually able to be sort of dealt with a little bit. Two is, his offense doesn't seem nearly as scary. Anyone he goes on has plenty of armor and plenty of ways to just live. You know, Shadow Demon still goes down instantly, but none of these other heroes are super squishy. And then the other super important thing is, AUI, with his item build, he has a combination of Butterfly, giving Ursa mischance, and Satanic, giving him just so much offense and lifesteal. Luna is actually able to beat the Ursa in a man fight, with the help of Amplify damage. But Crush doesn't work, but Amplify damage does. Luna can actually beat Ursa in a straight up man fight, which that's game changing. And we talked in the very beginning of this video, yeah, you have to delay the game, but something has to change about the battles. They were able to itemize, not just Luna, but the whole team, itemize in ways that allows them to delay these battles, to stretch them out, so that these melee heroes, they can just kite them, and eventually get them to the point where they can actually beat them in fights, right? Alright, in summary, you're gonna need your buybacks, so make sure to save for your buybacks. You're gonna need all the gold you can get, so make sure you make these trades. Even if they're not even if they're not advantageous trades, you need some way to get gold, because you're gonna need to make good item choices. Items that allow you to prevent your death and cause the death for opponents, you know? Make sure to defend your base by staying as far back as possible. Try to tempt them into overcommitting. Try to tempt them into going into an area where they'll die if you and your allies buy back. Keep in mind, just prolonging the battle, prolonging the game is sometimes good enough, because you never know if you're going to just get an all of a sudden pick off. If the opponents just get fatigued and you just pull something out of your hat. Last but not least, keep in mind, it's never too late to start a comeback. This game, and real life too, favors good decision making. If you just start doing all the right things, even if you had tons of wrong decisions in your past, you can easily make a comeback. You just have to start doing all the right things from here on out. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. Thanks for watching my guides. Next chapter is replay analysis. It's kind of a short chapter. See you guys next time.